they see me somewhere or they see the brand and they're like, oh, I've heard of this and I've tried it. And I'm always fascinated. I'm like, really? How? Where did you hear it? How do you know about it? And it gets me excited every single time. And, I don't know that would ever wear off.
This is Biz Ninja Entrepreneur Radio with your host, Tyler Jorgensen.
Welcome out to Biz Ninja Entrepreneur Radio. I am your host, Tyler Jorgensen, and today we have Mara Smith, who is a founder of a really cool spirits brand called Inspiro Tequila. And I know a little bit of the story about how she wanted to have a gluten-free spirit and wanted it to fit into her active lifestyle. But I'm excited to learn about how you got here and how you decided to, instead of just going to the store and buying one, why you decided to build one and create a brand of your own. So welcome out to the show, Mara. It's great to have you.
Thanks. So nice to be here.
So I like to start with this question. When was the moment that you first realized that you were an entrepreneur?
So I think that came to me much later in life, to be honest. I don't think I was very risk tolerant when I was younger. I probably was as a young girl, my dream job was that I wanted to be a Supreme Court justice. So there's nothing more secure and stable as a position that you have for life. So I think I went a very linear path. I studied accounting. I went straight to law school. I worked at a really large law firm. Before that, I had worked at a really large accounting firm. Then I went to a Fortune 500 company. So actually, it wasn't until I was working at Mcdonald's Corporation, corporate strategy, after my law career, that I kind of started getting that entrepreneurial bug, and thinking of concepts and businesses that would be interesting to me. I was part of a group there, and we were studying consumer trends and customer insights and ideating and kind of coming up with new concepts for the company. And I found the whole ideation process really fascinating. So that's where I started thinking oh, maybe I want to start my own company. I actually at the time looked into starting an ice cream franchise, a chain of an ice cream franchise, not the best locale, Chicago. Right. So that kind of idea got scratched. And then, what happened there is my corporate kind of career came to a screeching halt because I became pregnant with my twins and was put on emergency bed rest. So that kind of ended that whole part of my career. And the biggest pivot of my life that I never expected was that I made the decision to stay home because I had preemie twins. So I think it took me many, many years until I was ready to, reenter the workforce and start something on my own. But I think that's kind of where I started thinking as an entrepreneur and how can I do things better? What can I do to improve on something? How can I start my own company? But I think it required me being a little more risk tolerant and that coming later in my life. And I did not start this out of my dorm room.
Right. So. Right. And it's interesting. We have, we've interviewed several hundred entrepreneurs through the years, and in my experience, there's really two types, right? There's the people who, like you, had a successful career and now are able to apply a lot of the different things they learned and kind of have a shorter learning curve because you're only filling in the gaps of what you didn't know. And then you have the people early on that are like me. I was 5 years old and I was like, I create my own opportunities. I never saw the corporate path as a path for me. It's just not how my brain worked. And there's not a lot in between. I feel like it's either the early stage, that's just who they were, and then or the people who are like, hey, I think I can do this. This would be really neat. So you have twins. You're kind of like, okay, I'm going to do something. You go through a few different ideas. How did you settle on the idea to get into the spirits world? Because there is some extra complexities there compared to some other types of businesses.
Yes, unbeknownst to me, yes, the compliance issues with spirits and the fact that the laws are the ones from 1933 post-prohibition, and every state operates completely independently with their own set of laws, dealing with 50 different countries. So I did not know that when I started this. Luckily, having a legal background, as you said, there are things that you can apply, and that piece of it, being able to wrap my head around that pretty quickly and get up to speed, that was really helpful that I had that background. But so I've been thinking of ideas. I probably just, watched too much Shark Tank and listened to my founder stories, and always found them really inspirational, how people got started. And I knew I wanted to be a product. So I'm just a consumer product person. I'm actually like a really good consumer of consumer products. I love
Sure.
taste testing and trying things. And I actually thought of, I was thinking about another idea and it just wasn't really resonating with me. And I kept coming back to tequila. So I've been a tequila drinker for years. It became my kind of clean spirit option. I didn't like things that had a lot of sugar. I didn't feel good the next day. So I started drinking tequila. What I was just learning is so many women were telling me that they're tequila drinkers and that's their drink of choice. So really, I just saw an opportunity. I was walking down the aisles at the local liquor stores looking for bottles that I thought like resonated with me, looking for brands that like kind of spoke to a consumer, thoughtful female consumer like me. Using, scantily clad women and dark club scenes just did not resonate with me as a consumer. And I thought, here's a market opportunity. Women drink a lot of tequila, and I couldn't understand why brands were not focused on this consumer. She's just generally overlooked in the spirits world. And she makes 80% of the purchasing decisions, is the main entertainer of the home. And as I started researching the category, discovered she makes up 50% of tequila consumers. So I just thought, okay, there's someone, there's a consumer here who is just overlooked and no one's really speaking to her. And can we do that? And who better to speak to her than someone who is her? Like I am that thoughtful consumer who cares about what she eats and drinks and the brands she supports. And also this was a re-entry into the workforce after being out for many years. So for me, if I was going to do that, I wanted to be in an area where I can make an impact. So spirits, just like many industries, women are very underrepresented. And I thought here was an opportunity to bring just another female perspective and to have women involved in every part of our process, from our master distiller in Mexico to operations, sales, marketing, that we could just bring another female voice to the industry.
I love that. And so for you, you came up with this idea after seeing that really there wasn't a brand that really spoke to you and the type of consumer that you were and your demographic. And so you're like, I'll build it. I'll create it myself. What was the first major hurdle that you faced? And then how'd you overcome it?
Lots of major hurdles.
Yeah.
And there will continue to be many more.
Sure.
So I'd say the first thing was I had the impeccable timing of starting this company in February of 2020. So then the entire world shut down right when that happened. So I couldn't get to Mexico for production. I couldn't get to Mexico to find a distillery, to interview master distillers. I knew I wanted a female master distiller. I had read a book on all the women in tequila. It's a really small book, and narrowed it down. So I had to find consultants down there to be like my eyes and ears, to do virtual tours of distilleries. I found the master distiller I really wanted. I had to have them connect with her to get her on board. So it was really just a matter of trying to do that all virtually without being there. And in fact, I couldn't be there for our entire first production run. And that was another huge hurdle because they finished the run. They sent me samples. I was so excited. I've been like awaiting these samples for so long. They sent me samples. I tried it and I had pretty much a meltdown because I didn't like it. And I was like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do now? I don't like it. And it was recommended, well, maybe we take this batch and we mix it with the next batch. I'm like, to me, that's like taking something not good and something really good and getting something mediocre. Mm-hmm. So I actually decided to scrap the entire run, which set us back like 6 months.
Yeah.
Because we had to start over again.
That was probably a hard decision to stay that true to your desire for quality and taste instead of just like, well, I guess this is what we have. I guess we got to try to sell it, Right.
I have to love it. Like I'm just really transparent and in everything. I mean, there've been drinks that people wanted me to mix with like another brand and I taste tested and I didn't like it and I wouldn't do it. So I had to love it. There's no way. I'm not a natural salesperson. I, came from an accounting background,
right,
law. And so for me to really be out there and talking about it and selling it and believing in it, it has to be something I really love. And quality. I'm just all about quality. I mean, took months and months to come up with like our bottle design. I wanted a unique custom bottle, even though everyone said, just find a stock bottle and, make it pretty. But I'm like, no, I really want this custom design bottle that I didn't realize how difficult it was to, paint in a gradient. And so just, if I was going to do something, it has to be like done really thoughtfully, meticulously, and the quality inside the bottle has to match the outside of the bottle for me.
Yeah. So you stayed, even though you were faced with production challenges, quality challenges, manufacturing challenges, figuring out the bottle, you stayed true to your vision of what you wanted the quality inside and outside to be. That had to be a challenge, especially when you're bootstrapping and this is time and money that happens to go into each of these things. Now, on this show, we talk a lot about work-life balance, and recently the conversation has been around a lot more about work-life blend, right? A balance is almost an impossible thing. How do you blend, and how do you manage being a mother of three, being a founder, and manage all the parts of your life?
Yes. I'm not sure I manage it that well. And I agree. No such thing as balance. I actually just posted on LinkedIn, I think it was last week, how like blend makes a lot more sense to me than balance, because I don't know that I believe in balance, and I'm definitely not good at balance. I hope that every day I get one thing done really well, and a lot of other things and a lot of other balls are going to drop, and you can't get everything. I can't split my focus between so many parts of my life on any given day. But, what I try to do is, if I'm at my son's basketball tournament, like that's my focus right then. And if it's work that has to get done, when I'm in work mode, I'm completely focused. That's kind of, I feel like a quality that I have is I can be like all in and totally in the zone and getting things done and not easily distracted. So that's kind of what I try and do.
That makes
and
sense.
I recognize there's lots of different pieces to our life. Unfortunately, the piece that probably falls at the bottom of the list on most days is anything that's, related, something for me. So
Sure.
those are the things that kind of fall. Everybody else's needs, I try and meet as best as possible. I probably am too far down on the list most days.
That happens. And hopefully, at least when it comes to like the higher needs, right, those are at least getting taken care of. But I think entrepreneurs struggle with that in general, because you're wearing so many hats, and then you still have your non-work hats that you have to wear, right? Taking care of yourself can fall really low on the list. And that's something I think all entrepreneurs and all founders and CEOs have to be continually reminding themselves is it's okay to prioritize yourself and take care of yourself. Even if that means the one thing. I love that idea that you said every day, get one thing done really well. Some days that one thing might be self-care, right? And that's, it's a challenge to take, because that's not the type of checklist we're used to doing, right? It's like, no, I wanted to, make a big decision on branding, or make a big decision on manufacturing, or, production. But so what, as you started going and got this momentum in the business, when did you first realize, hey, there's something here, this might actually take off? Because I know you started in a very tough time, and then you went right into some manufacturing challenges. When was the first time you're like, okay, this is going to work?
You know what? I think when I found that retailers were receptive. Once I saw that like retail and retail chains thought, wow, this is a really great looking bottle, and they like the quality of the juice and the story and the authenticity behind it, and love that there was an option of a, woman-owned brand, because they are, really looking for diversity on the shelves. I think that's where I thought, oh, okay, this really could, this could be something, because there are people who, especially at that level, bringing it in, because that's our, focus is really selling through retailers. I think the other thing, and I hope this never gets old for me, honestly, is when I hear people, they see me somewhere or they see the brand, and I'm like, oh, I've heard of this and I've tried it. And I'm always fascinated. I'm like, really? How? Where did you hear it? How do you know about it? And it gets me excited every single time. And I don't know that would ever wear off.
I don't think it will, especially because it's like when it's not someone that heard it from you, right? It's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, you're my friend. Of course you know what I'm doing, right? It's someone that you run into and they're like, oh, I know that brand. They had it at the bar I was at with the girls' night out the other night, or it was, this was at a wedding that I was just at. Like, it's really neat to see your product in the wild. Who was one of your first retailers that said yes and gave you a shot?
Well, actually here, Binny's, which in Illinois is the, most major, independent liquor chain. And that was really huge because that's a big hurdle. Getting in is a really big hurdle, and staying in is even harder. So you have to sell through. My head of sales actually is a really good kind of assessment that it's, 25% of the work is getting on the shelves and 75% is making sure you pull through to stay on the shelves.
Yep.
And so the fact that we're there and they're adding more stores, that
Awesome.
to me is
what did you and your company do to ensure that once you got in there, you actually were able to sell through? Did you guys have any creative marketing or any strategies, or was the goal just, hey, we trust that the story and the product is going to do the work?
I think it takes a lot. I think there are a number of things. I spend a lot of time not only going to my local store, but I went to like 10 different stores in 2 days to do staff education.
Awesome.
Making sure they understand. So that's an independent liquor store where people go in because they want recommendations and they trust the staff to be knowledgeable and know things. And you see a lot of people bewildered in the tequila aisle, not knowing like what to grab. So for me, going and educating the staff at as many stores as I could to tell them about the brand, the product, the story, why it's unique, that we're confirmed additive free when 90% of tequila brands use additives, and how we created our taste profiles without using additives, like really educating them. I think that was one piece of it. I think having anything you could do to relay the story at the point of sale. So we added like little bottleneckers onto our bottles that talk about, that we're certified women owned, that we're confirmed additive free, our awards, like anything that customers can get as much information right there at the shelf. And then I think we're doing things a little bit differently than maybe a typical spirits brand in a couple ways. One is that we use digital, and we use digital to support retailers a lot. So if I'm a huge brand, I can't really do that. There's just too many retailers out there.
Yep.
For us, because we're small, we can have, local influencers go and do a run through some of our local stores here, like different, retail chains. We can post things. We can do email that's targeted by locale that promotes stocking up and giving different retailer options that we're in. So we can do a lot to support them digitally, as well as events. I mean, I do a lot of events, and I think I try and find events where we stand out because they're a little bit different. Like, it's not music festivals, not tequila festivals, not spirits festivals. It's more like getting in front of the women that we want to speak to. It's me speaking to the Women in Law Coalition and telling about the brand and having it resonate with them, getting them to try a cocktail, and then letting them know where they can purchase. So I think getting in front of those kind of different groups, especially those bigger like women's networks that I'm very involved in.
Yeah.
I think that's also something unique and an opportunity that something I can do because it's me, and because it's a small independent brand, and because I'm really the person behind the brand. So,
right. So what's one piece of advice that you would give someone who's considering starting a consumable product business? If they're getting into it, post-career, and they want to start something, what would you tell them?
I actually have two things that I think
All
have
right,
been.
I love it. Well, I'll accept two. Two is okay.
Yes. First is that there's no getting around doing the hard work. I did a ton of research before coming in. I came into an industry that people have been in. I felt like spirits world, people have been in it for a long time. It's like this small, insular group that you had to break into. And I didn't realize that coming in as an outsider. So I really had to do my homework. I had to learn everything about the production process, how it works, compliance. I got certified by the, CRT governing body in Mexico on the production and history of tequila making. I listened to webinars. I reached out to industry veterans. I listened to podcasts. I read newsletters. I mean, I wanted to get up to speed on industry and in general, how to start a business. I knew nothing about marketing, for example. I mean, I didn't know how to use social media. I did a one-on-one tutorial with someone just to show me how to use like Instagram and things like that. So I would say there's just no getting around doing the hard work, and it's very time consuming. And that would be the first like test of do you really want to do this? Because it's going to require a lot of time and effort.
Right.
And then the second part I would say is no matter how much due diligence you do on your own, I think, especially as a solo entrepreneur, you need a support system. So for me, it was about building a community, and a community of, especially of women who are like collaborative and supportive. I came in, my last job was CEO of my home. I did not have a big network of people, great friends, really supportive friends, but no business contacts. And
Right.
It required me building it like step by step, reaching out, joining, like I looked beyond just the spirits world. I joined and found people in the spirits world, but then I looked at the bigger CPG world to learn from them. And then I looked even wider than that at just like great women's organizations of female founders. I've connected, with so many female founders and leaders now who have helped me provide guidance, feedback. I collaborate with them. I support their businesses. But I think you need to do that part of it too, and really build a community behind you, because one, it's a lonely endeavor, and two, you need people, to bounce ideas off of and to kind of be cheerleaders. Or even when you're like looking for something, okay, where can I find, a social media agency? And then I have a whole network of people that I can reach out to that can give me suggestions.
Yeah.
And hopefully now I've done a lot of that legwork that they ask me, because they know I've interviewed, 25 PR agencies and narrowed it down, and I can give them some advice.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's what's great about as you grow that network and that community is at the beginning, you might be asking a lot, but then later on, you're able to give back and kind of then pay it forward to other people as they come in. And I love that. I'm a big believer of having that community and that support system. I think those are great pieces of advice. Is there anything that you learned from your time at McDonald's that you apply into the spirits world?
I honestly think, because what I learned there was looking at really customer insights and really focusing on what drives the customer and speaks to them. I think probably my legal career is where I learned more that I apply, and not just compliance, but and it's funny because people kind of don't see where is, going from law to starting a company. And I actually think there are a lot of skills that I honed there, right? Like efficiency, as far as work ethic. I mean, I was at the largest law firm in Chicago. I knew how to work really hard. I knew to be really efficient with my time, really efficient with other people's time, give feedback really directly and succinctly. Writing skills, I think that's something that we overlook often, and it's really critical. I mean, I don't know how many times I'm writing pitches, blog posts, social media posts, email, newsletter. There's a lot of writing that goes into it. So I do think there are a lot of skills that I refined as a lawyer that really help. I mean, strategy, analytical thinking, and actually, as a stay-at-home mom also, I think there are a lot of things that I learned that I'm better at and better at running a business at because of that. I mean, I had preemie twins. I could multitask like the best of them. Flexibility with kids, no day ever goes as planned. So when you talk about all the hurdles and things I had to, get through, well, I'm a good problem solver because of that, and constantly problem solving, whatever's going on with my children. It's the same here. There's always something where I'm coming up with a plan B and maybe a plan C.
Yep.
So I think all of those things really helped build my skill set that, I use to start a business. And And honestly, I think most important is that you want to continue to learn. I like to say I'm a learn it all and not a know it all. I'm learning something new every single day.
Yep. Absolutely. I love that. I love that there's things from each step of your career and your life that you apply into what you're doing now. And we talked a little bit about work-life blend, and early when I started this show, man, over 10 years ago, a lot of it was because of Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Workweek, and the idea of lifestyle design. So I like to ask this question, and if you said you listened to a few shows, so you probably know, I usually end the show with, because life isn't just about building businesses, it's about having experiences and living your life. What's one item on your personal, non-work, your personal bucket list that you're going to accomplish in the next 12 months?
Oh gosh, on my personal bucket list, I think for me, it's all about spending more time with family. So I want to carve out more time. I obviously see my children, but more like quality time, not just quantity. So trips, family trips, and also with the, parents, things like that. My in-laws, my parents, just carving out and finding more time on a more consistent basis. That would be my goal.
I love that. So I've really enjoyed getting to know more about Inspiro Tequila and everything that you are creating. It sounds like you're doing really great things. And as all of us here at the Biz Ninja community, we wish you tons of success. And to all of my Biz Ninjas, wherever you're listening, please go check out Inspiro Tequila on Instagram or at our website. And remember, it's your turn to go out and do something.